I'm Johnny Price with the Caleb Group in Greenville, South Carolina, and this is our 10th segment in our series C.S. Lewis on Heaven. One of the great things that Christians have to look forward to is the resurrection of our bodies. And this will be accompanied by the full establishment of ourselves as the unique individuals that God has created us to be. But just as eternal life begins on this side of death and heaven begins to be experienced on this side of death, so too the process of our becoming our true selves begins now. You see, unlike other predominant faiths, Christianity moves us toward becoming more and more the unique individuals we were created to be. Toward the end of the book, Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis writes this: "The more we get what we now call ourselves out of the way and let Him take us over, the more truly ourselves we become." He invented, as an author invents characters in a novel, all the different men that you and I were intended to be. In that sense, our real selves are all waiting for us in Him. It is no good trying to be myself without Him. The more I resist Him and try to live on my own, the more I become dominated by my own heredity and upbringing and surroundings and natural desires. In fact, what I so proudly call myself becomes merely the meeting place for trains of events which I never started and which I cannot stop. What I call my wishes become merely the desires thrown up by my physical organism or pumped into me by other men's thoughts or even suggested to me by devils. It is when I turn to Christ, when I give myself up to His personality, that I first begin to have a real personality of my own. Until you have given up yourself to Him, you will not have a real self. Sameness is to be found most among the most natural men, not among those who surrender to Christ. How monotonously alike all the great tyrants and conquerors have been. How gloriously different are the saints. But there must be a real giving up of the self. You must throw it away blindly, so to speak. Christ will indeed give you a real personality, but you must not go to Him for the sake of that. As long as your own personality is what you are bothering about, you are not going to Him at all. The very first step is to try to forget about the self altogether. Your real new self, which is Christ and also yours, and yours just because it is His, will not come as long as you are looking for it. It will come when you are looking for Him. Does that sound strange? The same principle holds, you know, for everyday matters. Even in social life, you will never make a good impression on other people until you stop thinking about what sort of impression you are making. Even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas, if you simply try to tell the truth without caring two pence how often it has been told before, you will, 9 times out of 10, become original without ever having noticed it. The principle runs through all life from top to bottom. Give up yourself, and you will find your real self. Lose your life, and you will save it. Submit to death, death of your ambitions and your favorite wishes, every day, and death of your whole body in the end. Submit with every fiber of your being, and you will find eternal life. Keep nothing back. Nothing that you have not given away will ever really be yours. Nothing in you that has not died will ever be raised from the dead. Look to yourself, and you will find in the long run only hatred, loneliness, despair, rage, ruin, and decay. But look for Christ, and you will find Him, and with Him, everything else thrown in. This process starts here in this life. But then we have the promise of God recorded in Philippians that He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. And with this completion of our own uniqueness will be the resurrection of our bodies. In 1 Corinthians 3, verse 21, we're told that by His power, God raised the Lord from the dead, and He will raise us also. Philippians 3:21 says, He will transform the body of our humble state into conformity with the body of His glory. So if you want to know something of what it's going to be like to have a resurrected body, what you want to do is you want to look at the resurrected Jesus and His body. And here's what we know. First of all, our identities will remain intact. Jesus was still Jesus. Secondly, our memories will be intact. In Luke 24, the resurrected Jesus walks down the road with some men on the road to Emmaus, and they talk about the things that have happened. Also in Luke 24, we have the disciples locked in a room, afraid. They're also fixing some fish to eat. The door is locked, but the resurrected Jesus appears as though He has passed through the wall. And He asks them for some fish. And He eats it. You and I will have sensory engagement with the world in our resurrected bodies. But we will also have what 1 Corinthians 15 describes as spiritual bodies. That's a strange combination. You usually think of a spirit or a body, but not both. But we will have spiritual bodies. And a spirit can walk through a wall, but he can't eat fish. A body can eat fish, but not pass through a wall. But we will have spiritual bodies. The dichotomy between the spiritual and the secular, the physical, doesn't exist. Not in God's economy. In the economy of God, neither the spiritual nor the physical are more important than the other. Each are equally important, viable, glorious, and real. And we have that to look forward to in the resurrection of our bodies.